Checked.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? So it's Keith here again, Coding Blind Tech, and in this video, we're going to do a little bit of freestyling.
Folder
So,
view.
sorry about that. I figured today, I just finished up work, and what I was thinking is there was really no plan structure for this video. The main goal was to just take you through Visual Studio Code, show you how to edit code, how to create code around like using what's called Emmet, which is a built-in. It's built into VS Code for Visual Studio Code for us to be able to use shorthand. And I figured I would show you all of that. So I do know we are going to be looking at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then we're also going to be looking at an extension called Live Server. So we're using NVDA Screen Reader. And if you like this video, don't forget to slap that thumbs button, that thumbs up button. And if you would like to contribute, feel free to subscribe. It is free. So, alrighty. So let's get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is open up my area where I like to keep my code at. So I have a YouTube folder in my documents.
Run dialog. Document dialog. Run dialog.
Documents.
Text unavailable. Folder view list.
So I
Items
press
view list.
Windows R, and that opens up my run. I type documents, press enter, it opens it for me.
Check stub. Amazon Web Service.
So we're going to look for YouTube.
Checks.
So we're actually going
Not
to
selected.
create a folder in
Context
here.
menu.
So I press Control Space to unselect the current folder, and I'm going to press the Applications key to open up my menu. Press W,
Folder F.
create a new folder. So press Enter on that.
Documents. Items view list. New folder.
So we're going to call it
Selection removed.
YouTube dash code.
YouTube dash code 10 of 16.
Okay, I misspelled that, so I'm going to press my Applications key
Context
on that
menu.
folder. I'm going to press M as in Mike
Documents.
to rename, and I'm going to type
Selection removed.
YouTube dash code. There we go.
YouTube dash code 10 of 16.
All right, press enter on that. And now inside of here, in order to open this up in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to press my Applications key.
Context menu.
I'm going to press I because when I installed Visual Studio Code, I'll throw that video in the link or in the description. When I installed Visual Studio Code, I checked the box to add it to my path directory to open up folders. So I'm going to press I.
YouTube dash code. Items view list. Visual Studio Code. Document.
All right. So it opens it up. If it's a new location or a new area, a folder that you haven't said that you trust, it's probably going to ask you that. So it's asking me.
Yes, comma.
Yep. So yes, I trust this folder.
No comma. Yes, comma.
There we go.
Mainline mark.
Okay. Sorry, I have been talking a lot today. A lot of meetings today, and it was Friday, so everybody wanted to hear something and then go home. Alrighty, so here's what we're going to do.
Welcome dash YouTube dash code dash visual.
We've got this opened up. So the first thing is I'm going to create a index.html folder, or file, sorry. So I'm going to do that by holding down Control-Shift-E.
Files Explorer tree view.
It's going to open up my File Explorer. I'm going to press the Applications key.
Menu. New file.
Down arrow to New File. Press Enter.
Files Explorer tree view.
And I'm going to type index.html. Press Enter.
HTML. Files Explorer tree view. Mainline mark.
I'm going to check the time because, again, I have no structure for this video, but I would like it to be 15-20 minutes of me getting as far as I can to show you as much as I can. The goal is to see if I get any feedback and how far people may want to see me go with stuff like this. Alrighty. So we have created the index.html file.
Index.html-YouTube.
So, and once you press enter to after you've typed in the name, it will put you in that file. So here's the first thing I'll show you. And honestly, everything I show you in this video is something to keep note of because I try to make sure that I announce my keystrokes and stuff like that whenever I do them. So, alrighty. The first thing is we're in an index.html, so we obviously want to create our HTML template. An HTML template can consist of a declaration for the doc type, which lets us know HTML5, and then we have our HTML tags, our open and closing, and then inside of our HTML, we have our head tags, which is our metadata, our title, and any external documents that we may bring in, content rather. And then we have our body, which is where all of our content for our HTML page will go. So, what you want to do is now I could sit here and type this out, less exclamation mark, doc type. Now, and I do recommend that you learn all of that. You understand what it all means and why we do what we do when we type it. But when we're using Visual Studio Code, we have something called Emmet. Emmet will allow us to write shorthand. So, for example, for an HTML5 doc type template, we can do Shift 1, which is our exclamation mark.
Suggest list. Bang comma, docs colon, Emmet abbreviation less bang doc type HTML greater less HTML lang equals quote end quote.
All right, and it lets you know that we have, it recommends that we can do the Emmet doc type HTML5 template, so we can actually press tab.
Index.html editor has autocomplete multi-line selected device.
And now if we go to the top of this document with Control H,
Less bang doc type.
no, sorry, Control Home. It's been a long day. Control Home.
Less bang doc type HTML greater.
All right, so now we actually hear less bang, which is our exclamation. So less bang doc type HTML greater. So it gives us that declaration. And
Less
then
HTML lang equals quote end quote greater.
down arrow, we hear the start of our less than HTML greater than tag, and it already has an attribute, our language attribute set to
Less HTML lang
English.
equals quote end quote greater.
And if we down arrow, now just so you know, I have my screen reader punctuation set to all. So with NVDA, if you do insert P as in Papa, or
Symbol level none.
you can do caps lock P if you have a laptop set up. And you, if you heard it there, it said none. I'm gonna hit it again. So insert P as in Papa.
Symbol level sum. Symbol level most. Symbol level all.
All right, so the fourth option is all, and I have mine set to that. So I'm gonna down arrow.
Less head greater.
And now we have our head tag.
Or space less meta char set equals quote UTF dash 8 quote greater.
And then we have our char set information. That's just our character set for this page, for the content that we're going to output.
Less meta HTTP
And
dash
that's
quad
just
equals
meta
quote X dash UA dash
information.
compatible quote content equals quote IE equals edge quote greater.
All right, so we have our compatible meta content for Internet Explorer and
Less meta name
Edge.
equals quote viewport quote content equals quote width equals device dash width comma initial dash scale equals 1.0 quote greater.
So we have our viewport metadata.
Less title greater document.
That's for like cell phone, like for different views.
Less title greater document less slash title greater.
And then we have our title. So I'm just down arrowing through this.
No indent less slash head greater.
And then we have our ending head tag.
Less body greater.
Our open and body tag.
Or space blank.
And then it has our indented. The indentation here doesn't mean anything, but as far as how things are processed, but what it does mean is just visually, and especially, even for the screen reader, because I have my line numbers, the spaces, or I have indentation on for my screen reader. But it whenever you format your code, it makes it look nice, and you want it to look nice. You don't want ugly code spread out everywhere. So if we down arrow,
No indent less slash body greater.
we have our ending body tag,
Less slash HTML greater.
and then our ending HTML tag. Okay, so I'm going to first make an addition here, and that addition is going to be a navigation. And then we're going to have a header, a main area, and a footer. Now, we're not trying to make this pretty. We're not trying to do anything special or be the best front-end web dev. We are simply trying to go through little tips and things that you can do while editing and writing code in Visual Studio Code with a screen reader. So, all right, I'm going
Less slash body
to
grader. Less slash HTML grade. 4 space blank.
up arrow. So now I'm in between the body
Line feed.
tags. Now we're going to, like I said, do a navigation. So again, we can use Emmet. So we can actually type
Suggest list.
NAV and press enter.
AB. Index.html editor has
And if
auto.
we read our current line,
Less NAV grader. Less slash NAV grader.
we have our less nav greater, our beginning and ending tags for navigation for our nav bar. So now we can
Line feed.
go to the end of this line. I'm going to press the carriage return twice or enter key twice. And then I'm going to make a header. So I'm going to type.
Suggest list. Head comma. Docs colon.
So actually with header, you need to make sure you type header all the way. So HEADER and press
Header.
enter, because if you don't, it will do a head tag.
Less header grader. Less slash header grader.
Now we have our header tags.
Line feed.
And we're going to go to the end and press. So going to the end of the line, I press end, and then I'm going to press enter twice. That moves me down 2 lines. Now we're going to do our main area. So I'm going to type main, press enter.
Index.html editor has autocomplete.
And whenever whenever we press enter like that, and it creates our beginning and
Less
closing
main grader. Less slash main
tags,
grader.
it puts your cursor in between the beginning and ending tags. So, for example, if I type Keith and then read my current line,
Less main grader. Keith. Less slash main grader.
less main grader Keith, less slash main grader. And that's what you hear because it has the cursor in between the beginning and ending tags when you create them.
Keith selected. Less slash my unselect.
Another thing to note is that whenever you type a quote, it will end your quote. Whenever you type a tag, let's say that I didn't want to.
Line feed.
Let's go ahead and put our footer. So I'm going to go to the end of the line, press enter twice, just like we had before. Type footer.
Suggest list. Footer.
Press enter.
Index.html editor has autocomplete.
And then
Less
read
footer
my
grader. Less
current
slash footer
line.
grader.
There you go. We have our footer. So as I was saying, let's say that we did not. Let's say that we did not want to use Emmet. Let's say that we wanted to do a div tag, a span tag. Now, if we do a div tag, so less,
suggest list,
which is shift, and then if you have your hands on your home row, that's going to be right below your K. So your middle finger on your right hand should be pushing the key below the K. So shift, and then
index,
comma will give you the less than, sorry.
Less.
So if you do less than D as in delta, IV, and see what it's doing is it's popping up suggestions for us right now. And if you ever want to explore them, you could down arrow through them, or you could press Control Space at any time, and if it has suggestions, it will pop them up.
Blank.
So we do less div, and then if you want to read your current line without and not, if I read my current line right now,
blank.
You hear blank, but that's because it has suggestions popped up. If I press escape or shift escape, sorry,
index.html,
and then I read my current line, see, it breaks me out of it. So now we want to do, so we have less div, and then we want to do greater than, and then now if I go to the end of my line
feed
with end and read my current line,
less div greater, less slash div greater,
you hear that it has the less slash div greater, the ending tag, but I didn't do that. So it actually will finish that tag for you. It also does this with brackets, braces, parentheses, and it's very nice. So
Less div greater
we're
less
going to take this div
less
tag
plus
out.
div greater. Select space line feed.
All right. So what I did there was I went to the beginning of the line with home. I held down shift and then pressed end to go to the end of the line to select to the end of the line. So that selected less div greater, less slash div greater. And then I pressed backspace to delete it. And then I did shift home because that selects my indentation. And then I did backspace twice to backspace it and then
Less main
delete the
greater less slash main
actual
greater.
line. So now we
No
have
indent blank.
from the top,
Less bang doc type HTML greater. Less HTML lang equals quote end quote greater. Less head greater. 4 space less meta char set equals quote UTF dash 8 quote greater. Less meta HTTP dash equab equals quote X dash UA dash compatible quote content equals quote IE equals edge quote greater. Less meta name equals quote viewport quote content equals quote with equals device dash with. Less title greater document less slash title greater. No indent less slash head greater. Less body greater. 4 space less NAV greater less slash NAV greater. No indent blank. 4 space less header greater less slash header greater. No indent blank. 4 space less main greater less slash main greater. No indent blank. Blank. 4 space less footer greater less slash footer greater.
all right, and we have that extra space. We'll have to take
No
that
indent
out.
blank.
So I'm going to up arrow,
Line feed.
and I was just down arrowing, letting you hear the screen reader.
4 space less footer greater less slash footer greater. No indent less slash body greater.
Then we have our body ending
Less
tag
slash HTML greater.
and our HTML ending
Less
tag,
slash HTML greater.
and that's the end of the document.
Less slash body greater.
So
Less
now
make
what
no
we're
indent
going to
blank. 4
do,
space less 4:53 p.m.
because I didn't want to make this video too long, I would rather add to this video as people respond. So what I'm going to do
No indent blank.
is this might be a part one of a 3-4 part series. We'll see.
4 space less NAV greater less slash NAV
So
greater.
what I want to show you is I just want to add, I want to change the title. I want to add a heading level 1 saying hello world. And then I want to show you the extension live server, which will allow you to open up this main file in the web browser, and it will give you something called hot reload, which is where you can change your code, save it, and go back over to the web browser, and you don't have to refresh the page. It will actually reload it for you. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we want to first change the title. So I'm going to up arrow to the head tag section to the title tag.
No indent less slash head greater.
And I'm calling them tags because they're not, once they're rendered or delivered to the web page and you see them in the web browser, that's when they're called an element. And that's how the screen reader sees it as well.
4 space less title greater document less slash title
All
greater.
right, so we're at the title. So if you go and press home,
Less.
that'll take you to the end of or the beginning of the line. If you press control and hold it down while you press right arrow,
Title greater.
you hear title greater. So our cursor's at the beginning of title, in between the T and the less than. So I'm gonna press it again.
Title greater.
So now it puts our cursor in between the E and the greater sign, greater than sign.
E greater.
See? And then if we press control right arrow again,
Document less.
it puts it at the beginning of the word document. Now this is what we want to change. So I'm gonna hold down control, press shift and press right arrow.
Document selected.
That selects document. So now what we want to do is we want to type our title here. So we're going to say
M less
my first,
ST.
uh,
First selected.
yep. So,
No indent less slash head greater. 4 space less.
all right. So right there, I want to tell you what I did because I didn't mean to, but I want to let you know. Sometimes I get worried about not spelling something right. So the way that I check it is I hold down the control shift key after I type it. I hold down control shift and then press the left arrow, and then it selects it and reads it back to me. And then what I usually do is press right arrow, and that puts me back, to where I'm not selected, but my cursor is back where I can keep typing. But in that case, I accidentally pressed the down arrow. So let me get back to where I was.
First less, space, less, slash, T, slash, less, space, less.
All right, so now we're in front of the less than sign and of the closing tag of title, and we are where we want to be. So we said my first
Suggest list.
web
Suggest list.
page.
Index.h.
So I'm going to control S to save. So now I'm going to down
No
arrow
indent less slash head greater.
till I get to the main, or to the header.
Less body greater. 4 space less NAV. No indent blank. 4 space less header greater less slash header greater.
Okay, so to get in between this, I'm going to go to the
Less.
home. So I press, or to the beginning of my line, so I press home. I'm going to hold down control and press the right
Header
arrow.
greater less.
And that's going to say header greater less because it puts me in between the less than sign and the slash. So I'm going to left arrow.
Less. Space. 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 Less.
And let me go
Header
back.
greater less. Less. H. E. Header greater less. Header greater less. Greater less.
All right, let me tell you what this is doing because it's different. It's doing something a little
Less.
different. So if I go to the beginning of the line and hold down control,
Header greater less.
so this actually puts us in between
Less.
the less than and the H, okay, and header. So it only moves us one position over, even though we were holding down control, pressing right arrow. All right, so if we press it again,
Header greater less.
so control right arrow, that's going to put your cursor in between the R and the greater than sign. Now if I press control right arrow again,
Header greater less. Greater.
so this is going to put you in between the greater than
Less.
and the less than sign of the closing and or the opening and closing header tag, which is where you want to be. Now I'm going to press enter.
8 space.
It's going to put me 8 space in, but what this actually does is you would think, oh, okay, well I indented, so header's going to be on this line,
Blank.
the closing tag, but it's not. You just hear
Blank.
blank. So what it does is it indents you because it knows it needs to, it kind of does some formatting for you. It indents you that 8 spaces because initially the parent, which is the header tag, is of 4 spaces. And then what it does is if I down arrow,
4 space less slash header greater.
you hear it puts the closing header tag on the line below. So now I'm going to up
8
arrow
space blank. 4 space less header greater.
to the opening header tag, and then you hear that, and
8 space blank.
down arrowing puts me where I want to be, where I can write my content.
Line feed.
So in here, we're going to do an H1 tag.
Less H1
So
greater.
I'm going to do H1 and press enter. That will do H1 greater. And now it puts us in between where it puts us where we want to type at. So I'm just going to say
Suggest list.
hello,
Low.
comma, world,
RLD.
exclamation mark. And I'm going to hold down control and press S to save, because now this is where we want to actually view it in the web browser. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our extensions. So Control Shift X.
Search extensions in Marketplace Editor has auto. 6 extensions found.
So I believe I have it installed. It's been a little while since I've used it, because most of the time I'm in Angular or React, where Webpack has its own live server and hot reload. But we're going to see. So in the search bar, we can type live
Live.
space server, and we're going to press tab.
Server. Extensions list.
Puts this in our list, and we're going to down arrow.
Live server, comma, 5.7.9, comma, publish.
Okay, so we have live server, the first option, and I'm going to let you listen to it so you know the version and the publisher.
Live server, comma, 5.7.9, comma, publisher Ritbik, comma, launch a development local server with live reload feature for static and dynamic pages 1 of 880 level 1.
Okay, so we're going to press tab.
Toolbar. Button.
And you might hear install if you don't have it, but I already have it installed, so it didn't
Main landmark.
come to the install button for me. So once you have that installed, close Visual Studio Code and then open it back up in this folder. And then what you want to do is open up your command palette with F1, or you can do Control Shift P as in Papa.
Type the name of a command to run.
And you want to type live.
Free result. Live server colon. Open with live server, comma.
And then you hear open with live server. We want to press enter on that.
Main
and
landmark.
It's going to open it
Tab
up
control.
in your web browser.
Index.html editor has autocomplete multi-line 8 space less H1 greater hello.
And it will actually open up index.html in your web browser.
Index.html. My first web page. Banner
And
landmark heading level 1 hello.
Here it is.
Heading level 1 hello, comma.
All right, so if I read my title with insert T.
My first web page dash Brave.
All right, Brave is open. It says my first web page. Remember, we changed that in our title tag. which is now an element because it's rendered to the screen. If I go to the top of my page, Control Home,
Heading level 1 hello comma, world bang.
we hear heading level 1, hello world, exclamation mark. And it NVDA says bang. So traditionally it is called a bang mark. So awesome. Well, we have made it to a good stopping point, I think. And let me know what you think. Would you like me to continue? I didn't get to do any JavaScript or CSS, so I might make that a part 2, part 3, and then see where we'd want to go from there. But either way, though, I hope you learned something new, and let me know if you have any recommendations. If you liked it, slap that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're not, and I will see you in the next one.
Task switching. YouTube dash OBS 2 OBS.